The man sitting on a $200 million empire makes more from radio than he does from the TV show you think defines him. His morning radio show generates $20 million a year, double what he earns hosting Family Feud. And most people have no idea it still exists. Steve Harvey just turned 69. And the life he's built by now confirms everything people whispered about, and more. That $200 million didn't appear overnight, and it didn't arrive on a single platform. Harvey earns around $45 million a year across television, radio, production deals, his clothing line, equity stakes, international format licensing, and a foundation that operates like a media company in its own right. Family Feud pays him $10 million annually. The Steve Harvey Morning Show pays him $20 million. Judge Steve Harvey runs on ABC. Celebrity Family Feud just renewed for a 12th season. Steve Harvey Global, the umbrella company he founded in 2017, owns the production rights, manages the talent partnerships, and controls the international Family Feud formats, including the African edition. What Harvey has built is not a brand, it's a system. A layered, multi-platform machine that runs whether he's on set or not. The part that makes this story different from the one most people tell about him is not the money, it's where he started. Not where he started in terms of childhood or small-town upbringing, though that matters too, but where he started in the actual physical sense. The address that shaped everything that followed was not a house, it was a car. And here's what that period reveals about every decision he made after it. He was 27 years old and living inside a 1976 Ford Tempo. Not crashing on a friend's couch, not moving between cheap motels, living inside the car. For 3 years, he kept food cold in an igloo cooler in the back seat. He washed his face and brushed his teeth at gas stations. When he landed a stand-up gig that came with a hotel room, he showered like it was the last one he'd ever get. On the weeks that no gig came through, he stayed in the car. He was making $50 a week. He was sending most of it to his first wife and their children. He was performing comedy wherever anyone would let him on a stage, and then driving back to the parking lot where he'd sleep. That was an ugly period, just very painful, Harvey later said. Everybody has a moment when they turn back, when you say to yourself, this is too much. I had it on several occasions. He had a breaking point in a hotel bathroom. He sat down and started crying. Then, by his own account, something changed. He got back up. He kept going. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. October 8, 1985. That's the specific date Harvey has given for the first time he ever performed stand-up comedy. He went to Hilarity's Comedy Club in Cleveland on a dare. A woman he knew challenged him, and he walked in and took the stage. He killed. The crowd responded. He felt something he hadn't felt anywhere else. He went back the following week. That first performance didn't launch a career immediately. The homeless years continued after it. He was performing wherever he could, building a set, building a following, doing whatever it took to stay in the game long enough for the game to notice him. It took until 1993 for the real break to arrive. He landed the hosting gig for Showtime at the Apollo, the legendary Harlem venue where careers were made or ended in real time based on whether an audience of thousands decided to boo you off the stage. Harvey hosted it for 7 years. He learned how to read a room at the highest possible stakes, night after night, year after year. By 1996, he had his own sitcom. The Steve Harvey Show ran on the WB for 6 seasons. His character, a high school music teacher turned assistant principal, played to his strengths, larger than life, quick with a line, able to hold a room without a script. In 1997, alongside Cedric the Entertainer, Bernie Mac, and D.L. Hewley, he performed in the Kings of Comedy tour. Spike Lee filmed it. The documentary landed him in front of a national audience that saw exactly what he could do. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. By 2005, Steve Harvey was a known name. Television credits, a touring career, books on the way. Then his second marriage ended. Harvey has talked about this publicly, including in a 2023 conversation with Shannon Sharpe. The divorce itself was damaging enough, but it was what came after that nearly broke everything. His financial planner had been mismanaging his accounts for years. When the divorce was finalized and the assets were split, the back taxes came due. 7 years of back taxes, compounded by interest. He was left with $1,700 in his bank account. The man who had built himself out of homelessness once was now, at 48 years old, facing something that felt the same. The money was gone. The infrastructure was gone. The safety net he thought he had built was not what he believed it to be. "I was in a world of trouble, man," he said. He did not slow down. He did not take time off. He returned to the work. In 2009, he published Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. It became a #1 New York Times bestseller. The film adaptation in 2012, along with its sequel, grossed over $180 million combined at the box office. Harvey received producer credits and back-end participation. In 2010, he became the host of Family Feud. The show had cycled through multiple hosts over the decades. Within a few years under Harvey, it was the #1 first-run syndicated show in the country among women aged 25 to 54. The rebuild was complete, and this time he made sure it was built on more than one foundation, and that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around him saw coming. Family Feud is the front door. It is not the building. In 2017, Harvey unified every part of his operation under one company, Steve Harvey Global. Under that umbrella sits his production company, East 112, named for East 112th Street in Cleveland, the road where he grew up, now renamed Steve Harvey Way. There's the clothing line, H by Steve Harvey, the investment vehicle, Harvey Ventures, a licensing division, the professional development platform Vault Empowers, which he launched in 2018. The Steve Harvey Morning Show, still the #1 syndicated hip-hop and R&B morning program in the country, reaching approximately 7 million listeners every week. In 2024, he became an equity partner in Merritt Street Media, the network Dr. Phil McGraw launched, where Harvey took on production and talent development responsibilities. When that network ran into financial difficulty and relaunched as Envoy Media in 2025, Harvey remained attached, producing original content, including a documentary series built around his mentoring camp for young men in Georgia. That mentoring program is one of the least discussed pieces of his operation. Each year, young men attend a week-long residential camp. The foundation behind it, co-founded with his wife Marjorie in 2010, reaches over 1,000 youth annually. Harvey has been clear about why he keeps building. The memory of the Ford Tempo does not leave. The memory of $1,700 in a bank account does not leave. When you have rebuilt from nothing twice, you stop trusting a single income stream. At this point in the story, most people walked away. What he did instead is the part nobody talks about. When Harvey was in the 6th grade, his teacher asked the class to write down what they wanted to be when they grew up. He wrote that he wanted to be on television. His teacher pulled his father aside and told him his son was being a smart aleck. Nobody from a county like Welch, West Virginia, had any business thinking about television. She told him to talk to his boy about being more realistic. His father didn't do that. He told his son to keep the faith. He believed him. After Harvey achieved what he had written in that classroom, after the Apollo, after Family Feud, after the books and the tours and the empire, he sent his teacher a television set. Every year, for the rest of her life, he never stopped. That detail sits at the center of everything. Not the net worth figure, not the syndication deals, not the equity stakes. The boy who wrote that note in 6th grade, who got told it was impossible, who then spent 3 years sleeping in a parking lot and washed his face at a gas station before a comedy gig, who rebuilt from zero twice, who kept sending money to his ex-wife, even when he had almost nothing left. That is the man who is now 69 years old, and still on the air, still expanding, still running. He never talked about quitting, not in the car, not in the bathroom where he sat and cried, not after $1,700. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. Family Feud is renewed. Season 27 is confirmed. Celebrity Family Feud, the primetime ABC version, just renewed for a 12th season. Judge Steve Harvey continues. The morning radio show runs through the end of 2026. Envoy Media is in development. Steve Harvey Global is still acquiring, still producing, still licensing. He turns 69 in January 2026. He has not done a stand-up tour since 2012. He has not needed to. The portfolio he built across television, radio, production, equity stakes, publishing, clothing, philanthropy, and events generates enough that walking away from any single piece of it would barely register. But that is not the point of the story. The point is that the man who came from a coal miner's household in West Virginia, who told his teacher in 6th grade exactly what his life would look like, who then had to fight for it from the floor of a 1976 Ford Tempo with $50 a week and an igloo cooler, that man confirmed everything at 69 that people spent decades doubting. The rumors were always true. He was always building something larger than the thing you could see. Steve Harvey's story is not a comeback story. It's a continuation, of a plan that never changed, even when everything around it did. He's still hosting, still producing, still partnering, still running the foundation, still sending the message that the sixth-grade note he wrote was not arrogance, it was clarity. What comes next for Harvey is Envoy Media content, another season of Family Feud at the show's 50th anniversary, and the continued expansion of Steve Harvey Global into territories most people haven't noticed yet. Here's the question worth sitting with. Steve Harvey rebuilt his entire financial life from $1,700 at 48 years old. Most people in that position would have scaled back. Do you think the second collapse was what actually built the real empire, or would he have gotten here either way?